It's honestly sad I have to make this video. So, this has become an increasingly worsening problem probably since the end of 2020, started 2021, but nearly almost every day here, somebody calls and is incredibly disrespectful to either myself or staff here, and we're done putting up with it. We are absolutely positively done putting up with this. So, we try our very best to help everybody the best that we can. We're kind with customers. We go out of our way to help people. And if you've been a customer of ours, you've probably seen that. We really go out of our way here to help you get whatever it is working. And if whatever it is cannot be fixed, we try and help you to find something, a compatible replacement. In bottom line, we do our best to help people. However, a lot of people don't appreciate this. And they act like total jerks. They are rude, they're disrespectful, sometimes even personally insulting, and this is not okay. This is not okay to treat a business or a business of any kind like that for no apparent reason just because you're upset at something in your daily life. Um, this is it's been getting worse and worse and worse, and I am this close to disconnecting my phone line and having an email only communication because it is getting really bad. I really don't know what goes through people's heads that they think that they can get what they want or get better service or manipulate prices by being disrespectful or rude or it's ridiculous. I seriously don't understand it. And I put myself in their position. Let's say I need something fixed and I go to a business. Do I really think that I am going to get what I want by going out of my way to be rude? Absolutely not. That is not the way to do things. And if you are somebody that does something like this to get your way, you are wrong, and that is not an okay behavior whatsoever. So, at this point right now, anybody that is disrespectful to us, we're not going to deal with. It comes down to self-respect. I'm not talking about being slightly rude or, asking for updates. I'm talking about people that are being truly disrespectful. It's people that are rude. They go out of their way to just if you're in customer service, you know the exact behavior that I'm talking about. You know the exact customer type that comes across like this. Let's take an example. Sometimes customers think that they're absolutely right on what's wrong with their device and they want us to fix exactly what they say is wrong with it. Now, customer diagnoses are rarely correct. Just like when you go into a doctor's office and think you have some kind of strange brainworm that you read on the internet because you have a headache, okay? Customers Customer diagnoses are very seldomly correct. I mean, there's a handful of people that they will get it right, but they're usually wrong on what's wrong with their device. And that's not being disrespectful to them in any way. That's just the fact. Their research or their diagnosis is based off of 20 minutes of Googling on support communities and YouTube. And my diagnosis is based off of thousands of devices fixed. Okay? And when you tend to tell the customer that no, this is what's wrong, they tend to get rude. Okay, now this has been usually the case or at least one example of what people do, is when you tell them, okay, no, you do not have what's wrong with your device. This is what's actually wrong, and they get aggressive and they've actually had people yell, say, no, this is what I want fixed. You're trying to scam me. You're wrong. This is what's wrong, and that's not the case. So what do? You replace what they want you to replace, and guess what? It still does the same thing because it wasn't the issue. And then they get even madder, and that's the cycle it gets into. That's one example of how people act or how people have been acting, particularly in the retail section. Stores don't tend to be as bad because generally stores that outsource stuff know that they don't know enough about board repair to be telling you what to do. So this is mainly an issue on the retail sector of stuff. Not saying that dealing with stores don't have their own issues, but this is mainly this particular issue, the customer diagnosis thing. is usually an issue from end user customers, not business to business stores. I think what some of it might be too is when I answer the phone, they think that I'm literally just the kid at the front and that does not know a thing, so they think that they can, try and bully me into escalating their call or whatever. At least that's what I kind of think before. They think I'm just a front desk person, and here really my kind of philosophy here is I don't want anybody answering the phone that isn't a technician. So anybody that answers the phone is either going to be me or the other technician here, and who knows this stuff. So when somebody calls, I don't want somebody calling here to get an inexperienced person and not knowing what they're talking about. I want somebody that knows all the signature faults, that knows quite a bit about repair and everything else like that to be answering the phone. And I think about, like, let's say I call a business about something and the person at the front has literally no idea what they're talking about. No, that is not a good experience, and that's not the kind of experience that I want here. Hence why I have it only technicians answering the phone, which is kind of counterproductive because I do understand that that takes away time from technicians that they can be working on devices. Hence why also another thing is you should not bug constantly about updates. But that also gives a better experience because when you call here, the person answering the phone knows what they're talking about. So let's say a customer calls, and I've actually had this happen before. One of the really, really common things that comes up is people will see my late 2013 to 2015 random crashing video, and then they will end up having a early to or mid 2012 to early 2013 device, and they will actually argue with me saying that they need their MOSFETs replaced when their issue is actually U8900. Now what I try and explain to them is no, your issue is going to be this chip that comes desoldered from the board, and they literally will argue and get abrupt and say that no, you're wrong, this is what's wrong with my device, I need these MOSFETs replaced. And what they don't realize is I'm actually the one that made that video and I know very well what's going on with their device. They don't want to believe it, and it's just how it goes. Now let's use a little bit of an analogy here. So we cannot know for sure what's wrong with the device without seeing it in person, and this is something that people don't really grasp as well. So oftentimes people will expect an exact quote. They want to know exactly what's wrong with it before I see it. And that's probably a lot of people. I mean, that's probably 70% of people that call. And it's just not possible. You cannot diagnose a device. You can have an idea of what's going on with it, but you cannot diagnose a device without seeing it in person. So let's turn the table. Let's say you call a doctor's office. Let's say you have a pain in your stomach or something, and you call and say, it's my appendix. How much is it to take my appendix out? It's my appendix. Well, guess what they're going to tell you? We need to see you first. We don't know what's wrong with you. And that's the same thing with MacBook repair. Just because you have one particular symptom on either human or a MacBook does not mean it could only mean one thing. Oftentimes, issues can be fairly widespread. Not widespread. It can be vast of what's wrong. So random crashing, for example, on 2013 through 2015 on the MOSFET repair, we usually quote 325 and 1 to 3 days for repair. Well, sometimes it's not the MOSFET. Sometimes it's random crashing caused by something else, like bad RAM or something wrong with the CPU, something wrong with the GPU. Sometimes even like a USB bus is causing it. It really, really depends. And what customers don't understand, or what they'll pull, is they say, well, you told me 1 to 3 days. And that's not true. What I said is if it is the particular issue, it's 1 to 3 days. We cannot tell you until we see it. And that's something that people don't understand. What people or customers lately tend to think or act like is you have to, if you don't do exactly what you told them on the phone first, so if it ends up being anything other than what they're thinking it is, they lose their minds and they act just totally rude. Another thing that people do is they basically blame me for design flaws on the device. I get people pissed off that call because they say, oh, I have an A2141, I want to upgrade my storage or upgrade my RAM, and I tell them, sorry, that's not practical because your storage is soldered on the board and you can't really get the chips, and it puts the board under a lot of heat stress, and it's going to be very expensive and it's not going to be worth it. And You get people that are pissed off because their device does not have upgradable RAM because they bought a $5,000 piece of crap that will then in forth take it out on me because of their decision. And I've had people that literally get like pissed at me because their RAM is not upgradable. And what are you doing? What the hell? Seriously, think about that for a minute. I am not Apple. I didn't design your board. I did not make your device. I did not sell your device. Why are you mad at me? I'm a data recovery and logic board repair specialist. Why would you act in that manner, again, to somebody trying to help you? It boggles my mind. I don't understand why that behavior is the way it is. We could probably go on all day about this, but let's talk about another instance. Lying. Okay, this is probably a big one. All right. Customer walks in, my device isn't turning on. Check it in, call them back, okay, you have liquid damage and it's going to be this much to fix. And they argue, I never had liquid damage, that's not true. And their board looks like it had a gallon of Coke spilled on it. Alright, so I kind of get this because what they probably think is, like if you go to Apple or the Verizon store or something, and you have liquid damage, and you don't tell them, maybe it'll be cheaper. But that's not how it works here. I don't care if your device has liquid damage or not. When it comes to motherboard repair, the price is literally the same if you have one tiny little ceramic capacitor that's shorted from no obvious reason or if the board is covered with corrosion. The price is the same. I don't care if you have liquid damage or not. Tell the truth. Another thing about truth, especially with data recovery, is people don't like to tell you what happened, and that's history. Okay, so they'll say they won't want to tell you that they dropped it, or they don't want to tell you that it was left in the car and in the sun on a 110-degree day. They don't want to tell you details like this. I don't know why, but they withhold information. Now think about if you're in the hospital with a mysterious illness and your life depended on some detail that you tell the doctor. That's a very similar analogy here. We need to know history oftentimes. And by being defensive or rude about what happened with your device, that's no way to help us, and that's definitely not going to get your repair done faster. It may not even result in your repair getting done because sometimes history about what happened is very crucial to solving a puzzle. Board repair isn't always straightforward as much as I sometimes make it seem in my videos. Oftentimes on a lot of boards, we have to piece out which component out of about the 3,000 on this board are not working, okay? And history about what happened is crucial to that. So don't lie, okay? We don't care what happened. We don't care if you spilled liquid on your device. We don't care if you dropped it. I'm not Apple. I don't care. It's not going to matter to me either way. Tell the truth about what happened, period. All right, another point. Bartering. Specifically being rude and disrespectful to barter. Okay. If you go to the grocery store, do you argue over a bottle of orange juice to get a better price? I wouldn't think so because they're going to tell you no, and that's the same thing here. Because I'm a smaller to medium-sized business does not mean that you can barter to get a better deal. I don't do it. Okay. So people will oftentimes be very rude and say, I've even had people say, well, you don't seem too experienced and, I want a better price because of that. Absolutely not, period. Bartering, and I want this to be known to anybody that watches this video that wants to send a repair, there is no bartering. We do not barter here. It's the price you get, the price that everybody else pays is what you're going to pay. You're not going to argue. You're not going to barter. End of story. Being firm in your prices is a sign. Being firm in your prices is self-respect. I mean, I know the services I provide here are good. They're very good. They're very top-notch. You're not going to find the same level of service, same success rate, same quality repair that you're going to find at here that you are at some repair shop that's charging $50 for motherboard repair. It's just not that. I don't care about that the guy down the street will do it for cheaper because it's not going to matter. Okay, it's not going to matter to me. Save that comment yourself. If you look at the pricing on the website and these prices are not okay with you and you want to call to waste one of our staff's time to barter the price, don't call. Seriously, don't call because you're not going to get your way. So In this industry, people attribute, or in the repair industry, people, they don't. So let's say you have two new computers, right? Let's say you have one place selling it for $5.99 and one place selling it for $6.99. Well, you're getting the same product, so the one for $5.99 makes more sense. Well, in repair, that's not the case. You're not, if you pay $50 for a motherboard repair for this 82141, you are not getting the level of service than if you pay me $415 for it, okay? Because here's why. The guy charging $50 probably does not know very much, okay? That's why he's charging $50. Because if he knew what he was doing, he would know that this skill is worth more than $50, all right? You're not getting the same level of service, and oftentimes what we see, especially with like data recovery jobs, we'll quote 415 for 2016 to present. They'll say, "Oh, that's absurd. The guy down the street says you'll do it for cheaper." So they take it to the guy down the street. Guess what? The guy down the street destroys the board. Then they take it to me, and there's nothing I can do because the guy down the street reflowed the CPU and did all kinds of other stuff to it, and now there's no hope of their data. And that's the typical experience when you go to a shop that's charging dirt cheap, because they oftentimes do not know what the hell they're doing, and if they did know what they're doing, they would know to charge more than $50. Okay. Let's say I like to use analogies to the medical field because there's something they tend to hit people's brains a little bit differently. So let's say you need heart surgery, right? Do you want to go to the surgeon that's top rated, that charges a lot of money, or do you want to go to the surgeon that's like really low rated, has a lot of malpractice claims, that lost his license but then was reinstated, that charges cheaper? What would you want? Who would you want to go to? The top rated surgeon that's expensive, or the low rated one that's lost his license and got reinstated and has a bunch of claims against him that's charging cheaper? Are you getting the same service? Probably not, because the cheaper guy is probably not going to do a very good job, and you're probably going to end up dead. All right, so that's kind of what it is when you go to a cheaper repair shop. Cheap is not quality. Cheap has never been quality. It's the same thing with products. If you buy something cheaper, you oftentimes get what you pay for. And if you pay for a motherboard repair $50, you're often not going to get a motherboard repair. You're going to get a reflowed CPU or some nonsense like that they hope every 1 out of 30 they get works. And I mean, sorry, and that goes back to the being rude to us because of our prices or because of they want a lower price. It's not going to work, and it is not an okay behavior, period. It is absolutely not okay to... Okay, I get some cultures barter. I know that is part of it. Okay, no, I will not give discounts or a better price, but I know that is some of it. I'm talking about people that tend to be manipulative jerks that try and manipulate you to give them a lower price. And when I was starting, I would buy into that and I would give them a lower price. It doesn't work. I had a celebrity one time, I'm not going to say who it was, but I didn't know who they were until I Googled them after, that told me, "Oh, well, I don't have much money. I'm a student. I'm in college, and I depend on this computer." And I gave him a really good price. I gave him I felt bad for him, so I gave him a really good price. And then I Googled him and sees that he has many $million net worth and that he's in movies and stuff. It's like, really? It's mind-boggling how people like that act. Bottom line, okay, this is the last point of this video. Do not be rude to a business trying to help you, okay? We're done dealing with it here. I'm absolutely done. Like I said, I am about 3 rude phone calls away from disconnecting my phone line and removing my phone number from my website, because it's progressively happening more and more and more. It used to be you have one jerk every once in a while, not a big deal. Then it started to become a jerk every week, and now it's several jerks a day, and it's really getting emotionally exhausting having to deal with people that are screaming and yelling at you over something that you didn't do, that you have nothing that you have nothing to do with. I mean, it's literally like mental abuse, having to deal with it time after time after time, and I'm done dealing with it. I'm at the point where if somebody calls and is disrespectful on the phone, I'm just gonna hang up. I'm not, or hang up and block number, because it's not okay to be treating a business like this, especially someone trying to help you, and it's really not okay. If you're somebody that acts like this to businesses, I feel bad for you. I really, really feel bad that you feel the need to go out of your way to disrespect people. And I hope you get the help that you need, because you obviously have some serious issues that are causing you to act like that. Um, and furthermore, I know a lot of business owners will back up this video because they're probably done dealing with it too. But it is what it is, and that's it for today. I guess the point to learn out of this video is don't be a jerk, especially if you want help, and you'll oftentimes get better service if you're nice rather than totally rude and disrespectful. So that is it for today.